I want you to think about the last political debate you had with somebody. It has to be something that you're really passionate about. And raise your hand if you were convinced by the other side. All right, I see some, but not a lot of people. And I think that generally reflects the trend in society that I want to discuss today, that applies to both the United States and Europe. Take a look at this chart. It shows the political positions of Americans from 1994 to 2014. What we notice is, across the decades, people find it extremely hard to work with one another and to agree on a set of political issues. And that's what we call polarization. Now, you might be asking, why on earth, in a peaceful 21st century, that people find it increasingly hard to agree? Well, there are a multitude of reasons, but chief among them is anti-establishment sentiments. So what's establishment? We have a set of parties that agree with a set of core principles that underpin our established system. And these parties have been ruling Europe almost uninterrupted for the past few decades. And this creates an issue. Every political misstep and political crisis that take place, such as the 2008 financial crisis or the immigration crisis, were credited to them. And this creates a rupture of trust between the young population of Europe and the establishment that we call political disillusionment. And this disillusionment creates an opening for anti-establishment parties and political outsiders to exploit. My question now is, what role does social media play in amplifying this polarization?
Thank you, Shannon, for your amazing question. But first, we need to understand that social media, for many young people, is the main source where we gather information about politics and what's going on around the world. According to a survey done in 2025 called the Flash Eurobarometer Survey, it saw 65% of respondents between the ages of 15 and 24 saying that social media was their top source of information about politics and political news. But the problem isn't in people using social media, but it's in people, and it's how information spreads on these platforms. And this is shaped by how the algorithm works. This happens because the algorithm in platforms prioritize content that generates higher engagement through likes, shares, and especially comments. And I wanted to see this effect for myself. I made a new TikTok account and started scrolling for an hour, mainly because I was procrastinating working on this talk, but that's a story for another day. But after an hour of scrolling on TikTok, what I saw was quite shocking. I kept getting videos with increasingly radical viewpoints, with views in the millions, and channels reporting on international wars, with no sources available, getting views in the millions. I'm sure a lot of people here who use social media a lot like myself would know about this, but if you don't, I highly recommend you try it for yourself. And most of the political content that circulates online is emotionally charged, has simplified arguments, and has content that is generally deemed interesting, no matter if it's true or not. And this ties into one of the most critical issues today, which is misinformation. According to the APU survey done in 2024, 76% of respondents said that they have seen some sort of misinformation in the week prior to the survey. And this shows that misinformation isn't something that happens once in a while, every little bit in a month, but no, it happens almost every single day in our information environment. And because of this environment, when people, especially the youth, see what politics is, they'll see it on social media, where the algorithm pushes content that's emotionally charged and promotes conflict and argument. And over time, this environment causes them to have a different perception on what politics is. They might see it as something that's stupid, useless, anger-filled, and only old men who can argue can ever do it. And that's what I thought, and many of my friends thought too. And over time, this perception causes young people to move away from politics and civic duties. And this phenomenon is what we call political disengagement. But now we've talked about the problem for so long, right? We're all basically experts at it. But what's the solution now? Shannon, do you have the answer?
Yes, I do. But before that, I want to ask a quick question. What's the voting age in Austria? 16. 16, that's correct. And I have no problem with that. Young people our age should be engaged in politics. A lot of us are quite mature enough to do so. But are we really expecting young people nowadays to navigate such a polarized political environment without basic support? No, I think not. And that's why we've came up with an integrated system of political education that we want to promote. And it has 4 main layers. First one, the official curriculum. This is where everything happens. If we really want a resilient and strong youth population that's ready to face the politics of our century, then we need to study about political issues, political phenomena, and international relations. But I do recognize it's very complex and hard to implement an entire subject. And that's why I have 3 more layers that are easier to implement. The second one, which is also very important, media literacy. We can have courses monthly or even more frequently to have young people engage in research on the most controversial political topics of the day and to dissect the origin, purpose, value, and limitation of these misinformation. And I think these are the skills that are the most valuable to pass down to other subjects and what they can carry on later in life. The third layer is, I think, what we're doing quite well at. We have awareness campaign on socio-political issues, and this is what keeps civic engagement and democracy alive. But this is not where we should stop. We need to also look at a 4th layer, a more creative one, a layer in which young people can not only be engaged in politics, but to become change makers themselves. Tamim and I, for example, were engaged in the movement trying to form the student council system in Vienna International School, or in MUNOV, which brought together hundreds of people around the world to debate complex topics. And I think the real-life engagement like this, that allows young people to build skills in leadership, in negotiation and planning, and understand the intricacies of real-world politics and leadership that can really create a great impact. But here's the catch. It is not available for everybody. Only a minority has interest in such programs. Therefore, we need to engage and allow young people to be more involved in decision-making at a school level. I want to end this part with a message. We're not here to teach young people what to think or who to vote for, but to empower them with the skill set and knowledge necessary to deliver change and navigate the politics of the 21st century. And I have a question. How exactly does political education create a strong impact on the society?
Well, political education is extremely important and has a crazy impact on our society. It allows young people, such as myself or Shannon, to have an impact on our understanding of the world, and that is a world of change. It gives us the tools we need to change our communities for the better. It gives us a voice. It allows us to move away from passive observers to active participants. And in a world where online arguments, political tribalism, and misinformation can make anybody feel powerless, political education reminds young people that they can navigate this world, that they can make sense of the noise, that they can participate, not just reactively, but thoughtfully. And it strengthens the future of democracy itself, because political education gives us the tools we need to compromise, even when our opinions differ. And that is the strength that democracy gives us, which is in not us thinking all the same, but it's in everybody thinking differently and still being able to work together. And that is why political education matters. So this is the moment
to take action, ignite political literacy, and deliver these programs in our school.
And to stand up for democracy. Thank you, everybody. It's been an honor to have been here.